I know this is, and based on the chat alone, there's obviously just a lot of interest already in the draft because
the draft show. We should just call it the draft show in the offseason.
No, but I mean, look, there's nothing better than pre-draft, right? There's endless possibility.
Right.
There's a million different ways you can make yourself awesome. It's a bunch of free players, so it's exciting. I know, again, everyone needs to go to clnsmedia.com and check out Evan Lazar's first mock draft of the season. We'll put the link in the chat here as well. But go check that out. There'll be one of many, and it is a mandate that Evan has to take a receiver with one of the first 2 picks in the draft. And again, I know I've shared it with you, Evan, but my philosophy, I really do think the Patriots have to take multiple stabs at receiver. Not just this year, but next year and the year after. They should be looking to do it 2 out of 3 picks, or 1 year take 2 in the top 3 picks and the next year take 1. You have to keep taking shots at that position because you can't get studs outside of those couple of rounds. It's very, very, very hard to find, and I do think they can fill a lot of other needs. That being said, are you going to pass on a Micah Parsons type at linebacker when you desperately need that as well? No, if there's a game-changing talent. But I do believe when they get to 21, if that's where they're picking from, I do believe they should pick based off of need, and they should pick based off of this kind of opportunity cost. It is hard to find these guys. So you have one. And I want to ask 2 things. Not only want to talk about the player, I want to talk about who else went ahead of this player at this position. Now, you've taken from Ohio State Chris Olave at pick number 21, who you like a lot.
Olave.
You say Olave, I say Olave. Tell me all about it. Well, first of all, who goes in front of him? And who was off the board that they couldn't get in your mind?
So I want to talk about the methodology in general because I try to do what I think the Patriots do just from talking and reading all about the Patriots draft strategy, which is you got to put players in clusters or in tiers, right? What they do is they rank the board and they say, okay, we can draft Chris Olave in the first round at 21. Or we can get George Pickens out of Georgia at 54. Which is that a significant drop-off? Are we talking about going from a day one instant contributor to maybe a developmental 2-3 years down the road type of prospect? Or do we think that gap is reasonable? That it's
like the Mac Jones, David Mills conversation from last year,
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's Mac Jones, Davis Mills, Kellen Mond, all those guys that went in the back end of the second round last year. Kyle Trask, they felt like Mac Jones was substantially a good bit better than those players, so they took Mac at 15. When I look at Olave and I look at the Patriots' needs for that top number 1 wide receiver, the Patriots don't need depth at wide receiver. The Patriots have depth players at wide receiver. They got Kendrick Bourne, they got Jacoby Myers, they got Nelson Aguilar, they got the 2 tight ends. Those guys are good complementary weapons in the offense. What they need is a number 1 guy. They need their Stephon Diggs, their Jamar Chase, whatever analogy, whatever comparison you want to make. So I like some of these guys on day 2. I like Mechie. I like Pickens. I like Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. But those guys, to me, are not instant difference makers like Olave can be. I would also say that the other consideration that I had was giving them a linebacker, obviously, in the first round.
And it feels like the most popular pick that you see repeatedly at that position is Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, so Devin Lloyd's a playmaker. Definitely can make a lot of plays near the ball, explosive guy, can play on the first and second level of the defense. You can put him out in the line of scrimmage, have him rush the passer on third down, sub-package situations. You can have him play off the ball against the run or in coverage. You can have him blitz up the middle. He definitely has a lot of exciting traits about him as an athlete. What concerns me with a guy like Devin Lloyd, and the reason why I don't see Devin Lloyd as big of a drop-off to Quay Walker, who's the linebacker from Georgia I took in the second round of my mock, is that Devin Lloyd doesn't necessarily play through contact or play through blocks the way that the Patriots are going to want their linebackers to do. He is a explosive player. He's a hard-hitting player, but for the most part, he's a finesse guy. He's not somebody that is going to take out the trash, as Dante Hightower used to say, and do the dirty work and take on blocks. He is an athlete that wants to be free to roam and free to make contact and be a heat-seeking missile. And I think a lot of times when you look at that, you say, oh, well, that's exactly what they need. It is if they have a true Mike that can be the guy that's going to be the sledgehammer. If they can have Devin Lloyd be the weak side backer who's the chaser, then they can have a guy like that, but they still need that Mike player. So when I look at it, I say, okay, I think Quay Walker, I think Christian Harris, for example, from Alabama, I think Chad Mumma from Wyoming, those guys to me are not that much worse than Devin Lloyd is as a prospect compared to, let's say, Chris Olave to a Sky Moore, George Pickens, those types of players. That to me is a more substantial drop off, which is why
you think from Olave down to Pickens is a substantial drop.
I think from Olave to the guys that they could get with their second round pick at wide receiver, we're talking about a significant drop. The other thing that I would point out is the two Alabama guys are both coming off ACLs. And not only am I concerned about the fact that they could re-injure themselves at the NFL level, because once you blow a knee out, it's very, very easy to re-injure your ACL. Even the other one could go, right? Because you're overcompensating on the other leg. So re-injury is a major concern. The other thing that I would say is a major concern is you're talking about a guy like Jamison Williams or John Mechie maybe getting on the field again at full speed in August, September, maybe October of next year. So as much as I love the familiarity for a guy like John Mechie with Mac Jones, I would be concerned about the fact that that player is basically lost for his rookie season, because we know how the Patriots operate. We saw it with N'Keal Harry. We're talking about projecting that guy. And at the top of the draft this year for the Patriots, I don't think that they have the flexibility, or they're in the position right now to say we're going to draft a guy with our first round pick that we might not use until 2023. I just don't think that they're in that position as an organization right now to be drafting guys for 2-3 years down the road. They should be drafting guys for right now.
So that's why I ask which receivers that might be in that ballpark did you have already off the board in order for you to arrive at Olave? Like, is Treylon Burks off the board at that point in your estimation?
Treylon Burks scares me, right? Because as explosive, I think he's more explosive than N'Keal. Definitely faster, definitely more explosive, definitely a guy that is going to probably run low 4.4s, maybe even 4.3s, which at his size is unbelievable. But an extremely raw route runner and somebody that in college had a very, very low average depth of target because so many of his targets were behind the line of scrimmage. And I'm not talking about in like a Deebo Samuel sense. I just a lot of screens, a lot of throws out into the flats, and then a lot of go balls, right? You're either catching a high point fade down the field or you're getting a screen behind the line of scrimmage and you're trying to make something happen.
So you have, so where's Olave ranked for you? Like he is.
Olave is my second receiver on the board. I think total. Yeah.
Behind London?
Jamison Williams.
Behind Williams. What about the other guys like, Wilson or?
So I got it as right now. I got it at going into the combine. Jamison Williams, number 1, Olave, number 2, Garrett Wilson, number 3, number 4, Treylon Burks, and then 5, I have it as Mechie. I think Drake London comes in at 6. Drake London scares the heck out of me. I don't know how you draft a guy in today's NFL that can't run. It just no.
Would you not consider London to be the consensus top right now? That's
he's up there. He's up there. I allow him to be somebody else's project. Like, he's a really interesting player because he moves so well for 6'5", right? There's not a lot of guys that move that well at that height, but he's not overly dense. He's only like 210, 215. So he's not a dense guy. He's just tall. And that really concerns me because I don't think Mike Evans was 230 pounds.
Right. He's not going to muscle people.
Right. He was 6'5".
It's almost the N'Keal thing. You've got a big guy who doesn't play big. Even though N'Keal has the frame, he just doesn't play at that size.
Drake London scares the crap out of me for the Patriots. Treylon Burks scares the crap out of me for the Patriots. Love Burks as a prospect. I think he's going to be a good player someplace else. Right.
So let me ask you this. If Olave is not there and Jamison Williams is not there, Do you now bypass the position?
I think at wide receiver, I would skip at that point at 21. The other guy that I would really consider at 21. So there's really 4 guys in my mind right now that the Patriots are to draft tomorrow that I would say, if you take one of these guys at 21, I'm good. And that is Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle from Georgia, Andrew Booth Jr., the corner from Clemson, Chris Olave, and Devin Lloyd. Those 4 guys, I think, are players that if they take any of those 4 players at 21, I think they're great picks, right? Home run picks. Anybody else that they take at 21, I'm trading out of the pick.
So that's it. That's the best value you're going to get is those guys. You're not taking another. Yeah, you're trading back and stacking.
The way I view it is that everybody else that they could get at that spot, if it's not one of those 4 guys, and assuming all the other consensus guys are gone, Kobe Dean, all those types of players, if you're not going to get one of those 4 guys at 21, then you're getting into a tier of players that are all eventual NFL starters, but not instant stars, right? Not guys that you're drafting to be instant contributions to your football team. If you're going to get into that muddied area there of developmental 2 to 3 year starter type players that have high upside, then there's really no difference at that point of taking them at 21 versus taking them at 33 or 34 or whatever the case may be. So I'd much rather trading back and having more bite that apple. Give me 2 second-round picks at that point and maybe a 3rd or a 4th to throw in there to try to get another one of these guys and just be stuck with Trevor Penning, the tackle from Northern Iowa, or someone like that. Kyler Gordon, who McShay took in his mock for the Patriots. I don't really see a difference, honestly, on tape between a guy like Kyler Gordon and a guy like Kiri Elam from Florida. I think you get Kiri Elam 15 picks later. So what's the point in taking Kyler Gordon at 21?
No, I mean, it makes sense, but obviously there's nothing that drives fans more crazy than watching people trading out of spots.
This is the year to trade back. If they can't get one of those premium talents.
I know, but no matter what, Evan, you know how this goes. It gets to 21 and there's a bunch of Burks backers out there and he's still out there and everybody's freaking out. Take him! And they trade back. It'll be what it'll be. So let's just hold the line here. Let's say Olave falls to them at 21. Day 2 picks, you have Quay Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, with the 2nd round pick, and you have a cornerback out of Alabama, Josh Jobe.
Josh Jobe, yeah.
Could be Job. Job Bluth. No, we're going Joby. So those are the 2 players there. And again, these are also need picks. The thought that the Patriots would draft 3 players in their first 3 picks that fill 3 of their greatest needs is a little pie in the sky. There's going to be at least like one running back or something, in here that's going to just be like, what? But these would be, at least positionally speaking, the right type of fit. What is it about the players you like?
So start with Quay Walker, who I think is pretty much got everything that Devin Lloyd has besides maybe the on-ball pass rushing ability in terms of Devin Lloyd can stand up at the end of the line of scrimmage like a Matthew Judon and be a rush linebacker on 3rd down. I don't know if Quay Walker has that in his bag or has that ability, but at 6'3", 240 pounds, Quay Walker is big and he can move, right? And we're not talking about a Juwan Bentley plotter with Quay Walker. We're talking about an athlete with Quay. You look at anybody on that Georgia defense, all those guys fly. Nobody on Georgia was slow last year besides maybe Jordan Davis, who made up with it with being 400 pounds, right? So nobody is slow on that Georgia 2nd and 3rd level of that defense. I look at a guy like Quay Walker and I see somebody that is that athletic linebacker that can go sideline to sideline, that can drop into coverage. At times at Georgia, they would move him out over the slot or out detached from the formation a little bit outside the box, allow him to be an athlete out there in space, on tight ends, on slot receivers, things like that. He can play all of those types of weak move linebacker type roles that you want, that the Patriots and every Patriots fan wants. Speed at the 2nd level. Quay Walker is it. The guy that I see, maybe not as big as Jamie Collins, but I think there's a lot of Jamie Collins in his game, right? Length, athleticism, freakish athleticism. This guy is going to absolutely murder the combine next week. I think that he's everything that you would want in that position, in that pick. Plus at 6'3", 240, maybe you get him up to 245 once you get him in the building. He's still got some sand in the pants, and he's still got some length to be able to press blocks, get his hands into people, and create some separation and get off some blocks when they are asking him to shed and stack in the trenches. So really a lot to like about Quay Walker. And this is another one of those picks too, where I look at it and I say, if they can just draft anybody from that Georgia defense, I'm taking them. That was one of the best defenses in the last 2 decades in college football. I think anybody from that defense, whether it's at the first level with Davis or Wyatt or Walker, the other Walker, Travon Walker, Quay Walker, Tyndall, Dean, Louis Cine in the back end, just get somebody from the Georgia defense. It really doesn't matter who it is. I like Quay Walker personally, so that's why I took him. But anybody from that Georgia defense is good with me. That you just can't go wrong with picking off a defense that goes 8, 9, 10 deep with NFL prospects.
Thanks for watching our coverage of the 6-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Patriots Press Pass, for a lot more exclusive content on the Patriots right here on CLNSmedia.com.